Cassie flips the switch again. Anyone out there? An answering bark of static drowns out Andy's bleak hoot of laughter. The radio is a piece of crap, Cassie, and clearly we're in a dead spot. Andy kicks at a blackened stump, sending puffs of ash over Cassie's grimy boots. Might as well ditch it here. In the last half hour, Cassie has watched Andy discard a perfectly good Pulaski and crush an empty water bottle. She bites her tongue. Let the younger firefighter learn the hard way. It's bad enough with the belittling and the mansplaining from the rest of the unit crew, maddening to the point of teeth gnashing. Andy doesn't need that from Cassie, too. What would Cassie have wanted to hear from an older woman back when she was Andy's age? Cassie has no idea. She can't even remember what it's like to be 30. Never mind Andy's 19. We'll take a break at the top of the ridge. Andy points with the blade of her own Pulaski at the desolate slope that rises from the haze of ash they tread through. I'm taking a break right here. Andy sits on the charred stump, knees locked, boot heels digging in. You're dying to yell at me, aren't you? Go ahead, say it's my fault. And it is Andy's fault. This morning, the whole crew were tasked with cold trailing and mop-up in the black area that connected the new wildfire to last year's 1,000 hectares of burned forest. Low fuel moisture and steep terrain made for horrendous conditions. Cassie had been mopping up a smoldering hot spot, swinging the Pulaski's blade into the dry-as-bone duff, feeling like it should be sundown when it was only 10 a.m. A sudden wind shift made the fire jump the line. Flames shot high overhead, and the unit crew scattered into the smoky haze, individually heading for safer ground exactly as per protocol. Andy barreled past Cassie into the break, but then kept on running right through the black area into last year's burnover, heading into the next fork of the gully. Cassie veered from her intended path to tear after Andy's bobbing yellow hard hat as it disappeared downslope, a split-second decision that's going to require far too much paperwork. Since then, the advancing flame front had cut off all egress to the south, and here they are, heading north, miles from nowhere. Twice now, since entering this valley, Cassie has tried to radio in their current lat and long, but the handheld's out of range. Cassie sucks a tooth. No point in making Andy feel worse than she does. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has a learning curve that takes... Yeah, whatever. Andy scuffs harsh lines into the gravel of the logging road. Everyone thinks I'm just a kid, and everyone expects girls to freak out. Habitual anger rises up in Cassie, the same old unfairness of it all, as acrid as the smoky air. Well, I don't. You got spunk, and you will learn. Besides, sometimes it's right to panic. Panic is what you do when you're in a nightmare, and this place is a real nightmare. Cassie doesn't want to ever see these sorts of wildfires normalized, nor this ruined terrain they're traversing, this blackened carcass of a vibrant ecosystem, climate change having caused last year's fire to be far fiercer and hotter than nature intended. Andy takes off a glove and uses her middle finger to ostentatiously scratch her nose. Don't tell me what to do, Cassie. Your generation doesn't have that privilege. The world would be so much better if all of you hadn't ruined it. All of who? You're lumping me in with those old white male assholes who control everything? Cassie spits out the words. Do you have any idea how hard I've fought? How many years I've... She breaks off. What's the point of arguing? The world is pretty crappy, and she didn't manage to change it. Cassie's generation has bailed on what they knew they were supposed to do. Respect the environment, make peace not war, end poverty and racism. Yeah, right. Somehow they let all their promises and all their promise burn to ash. Well, come on then. Andy is 50 paces ahead, tromping through a patch of fireweed that splatters the center of the logging road. Her long braid flaps against the Nomex hood coiled at the base of her neck. Cassie snorts. Can't tell this kid anything. She picks up her Pulaski once more. It's grown heavier. Her turnout gear pulls her downward. The Kevlar coat itself weighs 14 pounds, and her feet are so very hot. The blurred sun's at its peak, and the horizon shimmers with silvers and pale blues. She snorts again. The terrain is beautiful, in an awful sort of way, just like climate change sunsets are routinely gorgeous now. She catches up to Andy after a while, and they trudge along the road in silence, crowded by black skeletons of narrow spruce trunks and gray tangles of branches. Andy is kicking up puffs of ash as she walks, and Cassie breathes the bitter air shallowly. She avoids looking at patterned ash flakes that might be dead birds or patches of fur. Some things don't need close examination. Besides, they should conserve their energy. They have another 5 kilometers to go, she guesses, from the paper map in the pocket of her PPE. A slow arc around the valley until they meet up with the highway where emergency crews can give them a lift back to the helibase. She fingers the radio again, eliciting just a small buzz of meaningless noise. Andy is still silent. It figures. As always, it's up to Cassie to keep everyone in good spirits. All through university, 2 ex-husbands, a miscarriage, and 3 firefighter funerals, she's always the one to calmly console, support, and reassure. Even out here on the line, she hands out granola bars and water, relays positions, jump-starts stubborn vehicles. Yet somehow, the unit crew that's supposed to become her family, her brothers, it didn't happen. She's always one step out of rhythm with them, never quite connected. Why even return to the helibase? Who there would want to hear about how shitty her day was? The rest of the crew is all younger, all absorbed in their own dance, their own lonely dark holes. Maybe she'll just chill out on a log right here. She chooses a fallen old-growth hemlock, the rough-ridged furrows almost big enough to lose a glove in, and plops down, planting the heels of her boots in the raw, aching soil as if to anchor herself to something, anything. She takes out her water bottle and drinks a careful half. If she always drinks only half, it'll never be empty, right? That's some kind of mathematical law or something. She tries to lean back and almost falls. She realizes she's not quite herself. Too hot, too tired, too disconnected. Cassie, Cassie, are you in there? Talk to me. A hand on her shoulder. She opens her eyes. Tears etch lines through the soot on Andy's face. Cassie manages a weak smile. Whew, still here. A faint crackle, and for a moment she thinks the radio sparked to life, but it's just the sound of charred alder leaves under Andy's boots. Come on, let me help. Andy lifts Cassie to her feet and puts an arm around her. Together they stagger down the road, gradually finding their rhythm. Cassie blinks as Andy's yellow thermoplastic hard hat changes to dented gray aluminum, and her soot-smeared face grows translucent. Andy's PPE morphs into an old-fashioned canvas coat, then fades entirely away, revealing blackened trees beyond. A piece of gravel shifts slightly as her leather boots thin and disappear to nowhere. For Andy is Cassie, and Cassie is Andy. She thumbs the radio. She whispers, "My name is Cassandra." She trudges onwards towards the distant highway, a single line of footsteps slowly blurring into ash behind her. Thank you.